Hello everyone, my name is Khang and I'm a student at VinUniversity and I'm a member of the UNESCO Chair research team studying Barnard culture. For my time during the research expeditions, I've actually had 2 expeditions to Kankatu village in Khartoum. We spent a lot of time studying and living with the Barnard people and we learned a lot from them. And some of the things that we did were very day-to-day for them. We joined them in their everyday activities, their harvesting, and their celebrating as well. One of the most notable activities that we did were we went to cassava fields to help them gather cassava and harvest cassava for their usage. We went to their rice field to help them harvest rice. We went to see them study, we went to see them during church service, so basically we were a part of the community for a short period of time. And we spent a lot of time talking with them, studying them, having fun with them actually, and eating, drinking as well. So it was a very memorable experience for me. As I mentioned earlier, we did a lot of day-to-day stuff. We spent a lot of time just spending time with the local. Usually they would spend their days harvesting, doing labor. The children would go to school, the adults would go to work. So we would divide up our team in order to spend time with them. A lot of activities were related to farm work and harvesting, especially during the harvest seasons. We helped them harvest cassava, rice, and we helped them prepare for festivities as well. One notable activity was decorating the ceremonial tree. That was very insightful and very unlike what we've seen before, and a very crucial part of their culture as well. And we got to see a glimpse of what their normal lives were, what they do in a day, and how it differs from what we do here at VinUni. And I think we learned a lot from them, and we really saw what these people lived like. There were a lot of things to be impressed by, but the most impressive thing for me was how just gleeful and hopeful they are, living in a community like that, distance from the city, there aren't a lot of things to do and a lot of opportunities for young people especially, but everyone that we met, they were so gleeful, they were so cheerful, they were very hopeful as well, and had a very positive outlook on life. And I think that that's something very important that's usually forsaken in what we do. And we often feel like this is a field of research, but we tend to neglect that this is people that we're dealing with. So the thing that impressed me the most was just how they conducted themselves, how open they were with each other and with us as well. And that just reminded me of the humanity that we tend to forget when we do this kind of work oftentimes. And that's very important for us at the research team. My main objective for visiting the community was to learn their language and learn how they perceived nature. So that was my priority going to the village, and I wanted to improve in this sense. So one skill I learned is that through their language, I understood how practical they were with nature, how they used nature for everything basically in their lives. They're much more involved with utilizing the resources that were given to them. They're much more appreciative of nature as well, and they have a almost spiritual bond with nature itself, and most particularly the forest. So it helped me realize how integral their everyday life is to nature. They do everything there. They do their farm work there. They have to do treks there. So it's just interwoven in a way that city folks just might not be able to comprehend. And I know that that might sound a bit convoluted and generic, but it's actually true. Since we just view nature as something to visit, they view it as something essential. So their usage and practicality when dealing with nature is something that was very impressive to us in the research team and a very high priority for us to study. Our project in digitizing the Barnard Dictionary Through that project, we wanted to understand what made of the Barnard dialect and how language reflects their worldview, basically. And we approached this with a hypothesis that the Barnard people had a much stronger emphasis on nature itself and natural concepts. And we wanted to examine whether or not this was more prevalent and shown through their use of language. And we wanted to digitize copies of their original Barnard dictionaries in order to classify them into categories and examine which domains of life it focused the most on. And additionally, we also wanted to create a speaking dictionary based on the dictionary that was given to us, so that the Barnard language has somewhere to exist that's more accessible to anyone who wants to study it, other than just a plain dictionary. So many things that we learned was that Barnard language is a very fascinating language. It has concepts that can't be exactly put into words that we have. Some of them are spiritual and has a very deep sense of connection with nature. There are concepts that you can't even begin to comprehend if you weren't a part of the community and a part of their living styles. One word or term that impressed me the most was the Barnard word for something living inside of a tree. This thing is nondescript. No one else knows what it is, but to the Barnard people, there exists a spiritual force that lives in trees, and it is very fascinating for us to examine concepts such as these. As a part of our efforts in digitizing and naturalizing the Barnard language, I don't know if naturalizing is the right word, but we wanted to examine their knowledge on the local wildlife and animals. So the Kontum area, especially the Konkatu area, is a very low documented wildlife scene area. So we wanted to examine if there are things that Barnard people knew about the wildlife here that we didn't. So basically we compiled a list of animals, sightings that were found nearby, basically in the Kontum area, found on iNaturalist. And we wanted to ask them for their local terms, local names for these creatures, as well as their perceptions of these creatures. We focused mainly on birds and insects, as these were the most well-documented species. And I had a sit down with the former chief of the village to talk about what these animals meant to the community. And I was able to draw very interesting insights that were previously undocumented. As I said earlier, Barnard people are very practical with nature. So we were able to discover a lot of uses and a lot of symbolism existing in Barnard culture in relations with these animals, especially birds. There's one tradition where before hunting, the Barnard people would listen out for bird singing. And if the bird would sing, if a specific bird would sing, it's regarded as a unfortunate omen, a precognition. So premonition, I should say. So they would call off the hunting and wait for another day. So that's what's very important to us, to understand how Barnard people interact and live their life in accordance to nature. For this particular photo, I recall I was filming a segment for a member of our research team, talking to a local about the practice of canoe making. This was particularly interesting since we wanted to document as much as possible about the knowledge possessed by the Barnard people. So filming and videographing a lot of these stuff were very vital to our trips. So I also played the role of a videographer in this particular instance. And the segment was very interesting as well, since canoe making is a dying culture that is practiced by the Barnard people, since they want to make canoes out of solid tree trunks. And in order to do so, you need very, very big trees. And due to maybe deforestation, logging, commercial logging, this practice is beginning to be phased out, and there are only so many canoes existing left that it's made purely out of wood. And I think that's a shame, since this is a very important tradition, a very practical one as well, as I said. But it's being phased out and rendered to irrelevance due to changing natures of the environment and how we use our natural resources. And the Barnard people are one of the most immediately affected people that we could take observation to. The significance, I would say, is to emphasize the preservation of culture. I think that's the point of this project that is most prevalent, as well as understanding that we still have much to learn from people in the highlands of Vietnam, and especially in terms of their environmental knowledge. Since Barnard is not a very crowded ethnicity, they're a minority, so oftentimes they get overshadowed by the other ethnicities that have a more predominant population. However, it's important to recognize that their culture is a part, a nucleus in our entire Vietnamese heritage, and it's important to have an effort in preserving, understanding, and continuing their legacy and culture, especially in terms of their environmental knowledge. So we want to emphasize through this project that we should learn and take an active interest in these cultures and explore their understanding of the world around us, and move away from our predefined worldviews and put ourselves in the shoes of other perspectives, such as the Barnards, in order to get a better grasp of what it is that exactly surround us. Yeah. So I think that's our biggest takeaway from this project. I would like to say my thank yous to my research team, the entirety of our research team, as well as Dr. Jung Hwai and Dr. David Harrison for being such wonderful mentors, wonderful advisors, and generally just amazing people to work with and learn from. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity I was given to join this research project when I was in second year of university, and it helped me understand that our world is just so big and diverse. It made me realize that Vietnam could be so beautiful, even though I've lived here for my entire life. It could be so diverse and beautiful. So I'm very appreciative and grateful for this opportunity. I would hope that this project would go on and on to make even a bigger impact and leave a bigger legacy for future generations of students as well.